One. Go.
I'll be honest
Star
with
Wars.
you, that was not that good.
I'll be honest with you. You get your own kazoo and do your bit.
Your kazoo was a lot better before.
Yeah, before the show even started, it was so good.
Here's the thing. I got knocked out of the zone. Cody messed up the recording. Then didn't point at me when we started recording. So, it was a whole moment.
Should we do another take? Take three?
So can we blame this all on Cody?
Yes, absolutely. 100% Cody's fault.
It's my fault.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 34 of the All You Can Hear podcast. Today, we will be talking all about Star Wars. And I am one of your 6 hosts, Tanner. And with me, I have...
A Colt.
Me.
Abby.
It's Pat.
How did we... 34 episodes plus 2 non-canons. Never fails that 2 people mess up their introductions.
I forgot what I was doing.
I almost said Yondu.
So,
Is dead?
Yondu dies.
we
Dang it.
didn't discuss this, so should we? We're not going to do spoilers for the new movie, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna give a heads up.
Yeah,
before
I
we
thi-
do spoilers
Spoiler
for the
cast.
movie.
I feel for the last part we should do that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be towards the end.
Okay.
So, anyways, if you can't tell, Star Wars. We're gonna be talking about Star Wars, and then towards the end of the podcast, we will give ample warning for people that listen in their car or whatever to turn it off.
Yeah, and if
we will
you're-
be talking about episode 8 spoilers.
And if you're driving and you can't turn it off, that's
you better mute your radio
Just
really
drive
quick.
off the road.
Just scream until you can hear.
Uncrank your car, on the middle of the interstate. Just do what you need to do. So, today we're just talking about Star Wars. We're going to be talking about leading up to The Last Jedi, and then, for the last half, whatever, we'll be talking about The Last Jedi. There'll be something in the description about timestamp in case you're like, oh, I can only listen to the first 30 minutes. Whatever. So, yeah, Star Wars.
Pretty good.
it's okay.
I feel like I was the last one to see all the movies in the group, and I could be wrong on that, but I didn't watch the original 6 until a month before Force Awakens came out. So I went into it fresh. I find, even though I never really paid attention to the Star Wars fandom, despite never watching it until I was 19, I was pretty in line with most of the opinions. I thought Empire was obviously the best. Out of the original 6, do we all think that Empire was the best one?
No.
Okay, if you don't.
I it's a very unpopular opinion what I'm about to say, but episode 3 was my favorite.
Oh my God, why?
Actually,
It's the best of the prequels.
I would say Return of the Jedi is my favorite, but I would say Revenge of the Sith is my second.
Wow.
Just because I wouldn't say you get to look more at the clones, but the whole thing of Order 66 and the whole thing with the clones. I just love the clones. So.
I also just loved Anakin in it. I thought Anakin was great. Even though everybody hates him, I love Anakin.
Yeah, actually, that's where I'm different. I thought Anakin was god awful.
No, he was atrocious. He was better in episode 3 than episode 2. He was god awful in episode 2. I wanted to die. He was so bad.
For disclosure, Hayden Christensen is a sweetheart of a man and deserves every bit of our love and respect.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, of course.
No, absolutely not.
It's just what they did with the character was just
Oh, and by the way, since we will be spoiling The Last Jedi, obviously we'll probably be discussing spoilers from the previous 8 movies. So.
If you haven't seen the other movies, then okay, you're
I'm
probably
putting-
in the wrong end of the pool.
I'm putting timestamps for. Oh, I need to get a notebook out. I'm putting timestamps for whenever we talk about 8 spoilers.
Yeah,
only.
yeah, for
so
sure. Yeah.
if you're listening to this, and I'm gonna be putting timestamps back down in the description, so check those out. Only for episode 8. The other 7.
Yeah, it's free reign. I mean, New Hope came out in the 70s. If you haven't seen it and get pissed off about spoilers,
I think the official rule on spoilers is at least 2 years.
I have this rule where a spoiler is a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but if you're actively reading on that subject, it's your fault.
That's my thing. When people complain about spoilers, I'm like, stay off Twitter. I was reading some people that didn't get to go see The Last Jedi till Friday night. We're like, oh man, I got spoiled. I'm like, stay off Twitter. That's all you got to do. And Pat, did you get spoiled at all? You didn't see it till Saturday.
No, and I was Twitter nonstop.
Yeah, and Patrick's on
me
Twitter all
too.
the time.
I was on Twitter nonstop and Instagram, and I did not get spoiled.
I got spoiled
I didn't see
20.
anything.
I got spoiled 20 minutes after we saw it. But then, it's not spoiled at that point. I just saw a spoiler 20 minutes after we saw it. So that was pretty good. So, but That's interesting that you think episode 3 is the best.
I just really like episode 3. And General Grievous.
Okay, General Grievous is cool, but
Grievous.
his best showing was in the original Clone Wars cartoon.
Yes, yes. Star Wars: The Clone Wars. That's the only way General Grievous got any justice.
And I think the Clone Wars. If you watch the original 6, I say the original 6 is really original 3. But if you watch the prequel trilogy without watching Clone Wars, it's not good. It's just not. If you include Clone Wars, the cartoon series in it, then it kind of makes a little bit more sense. It makes some of the choices more forgivable. I mean, more forgivable, and some of them aren't. But I definitely would recommend anyone. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the Clone Wars is like trudging through mud at times, especially with Padme and Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Those were the worst episodes of it. I actually skipped after the first 2. I was like, these can't be that bad. And after I watched the first 2, I was like, yeah, I'm skipping every single one of these.
And I think pretty much like they all like the Clone Wars also really helped in giving like you learn more about the Jedi, and you get to see more Jedi actually, and see them in action. And then you get to see you get to learn more about the clones and what makes them more like unique rather than just having the same face and stuff. And it's just really good. But the diplomatic missions where like you said, Padme and Jar Jar, where it was just like it was just almost like I think like from start to finish like strictly like just talking, and occasionally the one episode I'm thinking of right now is where like they try to find a traitor or whatever. But yeah, and then Jar Jar fucking up all the time.
So
he fucks up all the time. He gets people killed. It's like, why would you let this man be anywhere near anything?
Me so sorry.
I never liked Jar Jar. Like, my thing coming into Star Wars so late, I was like, Jar Jar can't be that bad. It has to be like a bit that people just hate Jar Jar. Jar Jar sucks. What a god awful character.
Like,
I don't even know what they were trying to get accomplished with him.
He's supposed to be the kid appeal character.
He's the stupid appeal character. I hated him.
BB-8 was what should have happened.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like a BB-8, like, and I know a lot of people don't even like C-3PO, but I think C-3PO is just fine. I think he's a great character. I think he has a much needed balance, unlike Jar Jar, who's literally just like, I should not be anywhere near anything important ever.
A New Hope, C-3PO is insufferable, but after that they're like, let's tone him down a little bit. So, but yeah, speaking of I call them the pre-7, the 1 through 6. I would say that I definitely would put Empire Strikes Back as number 1, number 2 being Return of the Jedi, number 3 being A New Hope, and then the last 3 would be the better of the 3 was number 3, then number 1, then number 2. Like episode 2 is the absolute worst.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's true.
I pretty much have the same ranking, except I would have 3 over 4. I think Revenge of the Sith is better than New Hope, which is probably a fairly unpopular take, but I'd go 5, 6, 3, 4, 1, 2.
Ooh, yeah, that's very unpopular. Now, here's the real question before 8. Let's not talk about 8.
But yeah.
If we talk about episode 7 and we talk about I want to include episode 7, but I also want to say that because like in the movie canon that Rogue One fits in there too. So Rogue One is that one little special one. So technically we have 8. We have as of last Thursday, we have 9 movies in the canon. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about 8 of those 9 in this little part. Rogue One, I felt was a very well needed. It's probably my number 2 favorite Star Wars movie outside of Empire Strikes Back. Right now, before pre-8, but
it's weird for me, like going back and thinking about Rogue One. I actually watched it again fairly recent. Well, I say fairly, like 2 months ago. The last 45 minutes of that movie is fantastic, but the first hour and however long it was before then, it was good, but it was I felt very slow. And I know the whole purpose of Rogue One was like the unnamed warrior aspect. I cannot tell you one character's name from
That's
Rogue
how it was
One.
when I ended it. I think I knew the
I knew
girl,
Vader.
obviously Jin, and the robot K2SO something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I couldn't remember a single character. And I get that was sort of the point, but I like couldn't remember a single character.
And that was the thing, is that like when they doing a throwaway for those characters is, I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it was the right move. Like, obviously, it wouldn't make any sense to be like, oh, the Rogue One people, they are the heroes, and we have monuments built to them. I'm like, well, you've already established 7 movies of canon where nobody knows who these people were, except that they were Rogue One. So
yeah, it was kind of like that unnamed hero type aspect. But another person said the whole movie was just a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
It was a puzzle piece that just clicked in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whether or not the movie in on its own was not that great, in the line of story it was pretty good. I care about storyline aspects more than I do like individual movies. I like the overall story versus the movie itself.
And you have to think about that, especially with a series like Star Wars, just because like it has such a detailed universe and canon.
Yeah, definitely.
It's fairly overwhelming. Like, even again, when I got into it, it was just the 6 movies. It's pretty overwhelming, and now especially throwing in the new books and like all the games are canon now and all that stuff.
See, that's interesting, because it's like Rogue One was definitely a puzzle piece that needed to be there and needed to fit. And then when I think about it too, the Clone Wars was also that way too. Like, even though it was like an animated kid show, it's like, I mean, there's still violence in it. I mean, people got their heads cut off, people were thrown into space to suffocate. It's like, it was still really very violent, and that's why it was shown actually at night. So a lot of kids like would be asleep, but I mean, I stayed up to watch it. So, but yeah, that's interesting. Even though there were some things that like don't really get answered in the Clone Wars until like afterwards, because in the Clone Wars, Anakin had a Padawan. He had a little trainee, Ahsoka,
which is my favorite character in all Star Wars.
Yeah, I love Ahsoka, and like that's something that's weird, because it's like in Revenge of the Sith, it's like you never see Ahsoka, like what happened, and it explains like she left the Jedi Order, and she just went away and became like essentially like a gray Jedi, I think, because they answer what happened to her in the Star Wars Rebels.
Well, they answer what happened to her in Star Wars Rebels, but there's also a book called Ahsoka out there, which is considered to be some of the best, the best children's writing around for Star Wars
or young adult literature.
Yeah, young adult literature. It wasn't like it's not. It's a very good. It's a even for adults, it's not bad. It's very good writing. And one of the things I liked about Ahsoka, especially with Clone Wars, that it justified when you saw the Jedi Order ending, and you saw what that you kind of realized, like, yeah, they kind of went beyond their reach. You understand that, like, oh, so the Jedi they're good guys, but they're fighting. I mean, the Clone Wars always show the Jedi as good guys. That's just the thing. But it made some of the choices and decisions in the third movie and in the second one sort of kind of make sense. It made sense as to why the Jedi did what they did, and why the Jedi kind of were lost, and I don't know.
And that's what I like about the companion pieces like Clone Wars and like Star Wars Rebels and all that stuff.
And the comics and the books.
Yeah, and all that stuff is that you don't need them. Like somebody like me, that I've seen like 3 episodes of Clone Wars. Like it was those episodes we watched when I watched the movies for the first time. Like, you don't need those to get the overarching story of Star Wars. But if you watch them, it kind of enhances your experience in a way.
Oh yeah, because like whenever you watch Revenge of the Sith, like after the Clone Wars, it's like, oh shit, it's like they were in the Clone Wars, and like more about this character. It's like some of the Jedi that were killed in Revenge of the Sith, it's like you get to see them more fleshed out in the Clone Wars, and it's like damn,
it's more emotional impact.
Yeah, and then whenever you see the clones too, it's like that really hurts you, because it's like whenever Commander Cody shoots at Obi-Wan, whenever he's climbing up, it's actually
fucked up.
Whenever he shoots at Obi-Wan, it's like damn, it's like you want, like, through the Clone Wars you see Cody a lot, and it's like you kind of build like a relationship, like, or
he and Obi-Wan are like best friends.
Yeah, and like he loves Cody. It was like Cody is a great commander, and it's like damn. And then you see like when Yoda cuts off those 2 clones that try to kill him, one of those clones is a guy named Commander Gree, and you see a Gree quite a bit in the Clone Wars, and it's like, damn, it's like he's gone. So it's like all these like clone commanders you get to see, it's crazy. And then the Jedi.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's what I like about universes like a Star Wars universe. I guess Lord of the Rings would kind of be similar in a way, where there's a lot of other stuff that you don't need, but it enhances your experience, and Star Wars kind of has that aspect going for it.
Star Wars doesn't have I don't think Star Wars really has an analog. Not at least in. I can't think of anything that Star Wars has a Western analog for. It was a movie series created to be a movie series.
Yeah,
that was
for sure.
expanded in like that was expanded into this massive universe. I can't think of anything out at all that's related to that could be considered an analog to it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's cool in that way. What did we all think about the fourth? So moving on from Rogue One, hold on, before we move on, Rogue One, where does that rank in everybody's Star Wars?
Oh, like combining all the movies like in one ranking besides
Yeah.
The Last Jedi?
Besides The Last Jedi.
I think for me it'd be second.
Okay.
Probably third.
I would also have it behind Empire and Return of the
Were you
Jedi.
including Episode 7 in this?
Yeah,
in
Episode
this
7 would
listing?
be included in this.
Yeah.
But I would have it behind. I would have it, back there.
I would also put it second, I think. I really liked it.
Behind Empire? Or what do you have as first?
I actually have The Force Awakens as first, so that's why it's second for me.
Okay.
I would say, yeah, probably episode 7.
Okay.
But, like, growing up with Star Wars, I really appreciated Rebel because there were so many pieces, like, that I felt like I was missing.
You mean Rogue One?
Yeah, Rogue One.
Oh.
Rebel. And seeing that was awesome to me. Because I loved Star Wars since a little kid. I think it, like, really helps out the fans, like, putting things together.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does leave a lot of pieces out, but you still get it if you watch the movies. But, yeah, I really loved it.
And we're in no way hardcore fans here. I mean, we're big fans, and we
Oh
watch.
no, I am hardcore. Like,
but
show of the full body Death Star tattoo.
I mean, like, I have a box of like all these like Star Wars action figures I've collected. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, but I'm talking about like we don't, as in we're not like sitting there reading every book that comes out. We're not reading through every single comic. We know the gist of them, but we're not necessarily reading through those. You know, those are the.
I've read a lot.
Well, never mind.
Witzel's literally about to pull out a lightsaber, and he's like, "Listen, where would you have the Force Awakens, Pat?
Force Awakens.
Or not the Force Awakens, Rogue One.
Rogue One. It's probably within the top 5. I think Force Awakens is higher than it. though.
Yeah, I think I would have.
Because I do agree with your sentiment. While it was on the whole a good movie, I do feel like for the first 2 acts in the movie are a little slow, not necessarily to the detriment of the movie. It's just it really kicks in in the 3rd act.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last part's like probably the most memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Up until Episode 7, it's gonna be Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One, Episode 7.
Okay. I think I would have. Let's move on to Episode 7. I think I would have Episode 7 just behind Empire. I think, and I remember coming out of the theater, I was like, "Oh, that's the best Star Wars." But no, I think looking back, I think I would have Empire just ahead of it. The Force Awakens, fantastic movie. I think it did so many things right, as in your hardcore fans still loved it, but it was a new fan could come into it and still appreciate it to be a good movie. But obviously, you're not going to have that emotional connection with like Han Solo or Leia, or you're not going to really. I mean, you might still appreciate the end of the movie when Luke's there, and you're like, oh, that's that Luke or whatever. Yeah. But then, like, you're a hardcore fan, you're like, shit, that's Luke Skywalker, freaking out. So
Episode 7 to me, I really liked. For the fact that a lot of people hated it for the whole nostalgia factor they kind of put in.
Which was stupid.
Like the repetition. It was a very stupid argument because what the fuck were they supposed to do? Or were they just supposed to like...
hey, we haven't released one of those in 15 years, but we're going to kind of not even mention Star Wars anywhere.
Yeah. It was impossible. They needed to do something like that. It was nostalgic. This wasn't because people were so disenfranchised with the franchise that it was just so... I mean, after they wanted to make sure people knew that they were going back to the original ideas of the movie. Mm-hmm. They were trying to bring in a lot of the people who kind of fell off the board, and they were trying to kind of echo that forward. A lot of people have seen A New Hope. Most people who've seen Star Wars have seen A New Hope for the most part. And so they were kind of echoing the same sort of sentiments in there, and I think that was a perfectly good reasoning. Yeah. I love the fact that they did that.
Yeah, I think it followed a lot of New Hope's tropes. A lot, like there was 3 main characters that you followed throughout the film, and 2 of them was paired up the whole movie, and then you had one that kind of went off the wall for a little bit, and I think it really worked in that. And like I remember going to the theater because we went for the midnight showing or whatever time it was. It was opening night, and like. I love being in that crowd because everybody's just reacting, like clapping, and like I remember when Han and Chewie showed up, everybody was like, "Yeah!" And I mean, it's just really cool to experience that in the theater, and you can't get that with a home viewing. So, I mean, it's just really cool. I mean, and you imagine everybody that goes to a Star Wars opening night release is at least a fan. Like, most people aren't going to go to that and like, I've never seen a Star Wars, I'm going in blind, let's go. So, I don't know, it's really cool, and I appreciate that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me,
Colt was asleep. So.
I'll be honest with you. I forgot a lot of things I've said. But episode
Like in life?
Oh yes. No, episode 7 for me, and like all of the rankings, not including 8, that is my favorite Star Wars movie out of the ones we can choose from.
Yeah.
It's just everything about it felt right, and Kylo Ren is my son.
He's 34, but
He's
I
my
appreciate
son.
that.
I love Kylo Ren.
I appreciate the Adam Driver love. He's fantastic. Can we, like?
Oh hell yes.
I mean, I think he was the best written character in 7, and again, not going to spoil anything yet, but I think he's also the best written character in 8 too.
Let's do a little fun little thing here.
Okay.
What is your favorite Star Wars character, starting with Tanner?
Oh,
Out of
God.
everything you've seen. Doesn't have to be out of the whole thing, but just everything
Okay.
you've seen.
Okay, so
consumed.
so keep in mind I've only seen the movies. So I would say my favorite character is, God, it's going to be such a boring answer, I'm sure. I don't know. Part of me wants to say BB-8, which it seems like a really cop-out answer considering the character has no dialogue. But for a character with no dialogue, good lord, like the most expressive character in the whole damn franchise. I feel like kind of like R2. Like I think BB-8's a better R2. I'm not going to say he's my favorite character.
That I agree with you there.
But BB-8 is a better R2.
Yeah.
Which, you know, may be sacrilege. But I don't know. I love Han Solo a lot, so I'll probably go with Han Solo.
Okay, cool.
For me, it's Kylo Ren, but Yoda is very close behind him. I love Yoda. I've loved Yoda. He was my favorite character until I saw episode 7. But yeah, that's mine.
This is incorporating everything we've seen, like
Yeah,
Clone
yeah.
Wars.
Clone Wars included.
I'd have to say Mace Windu.
Ooh, that's a weird one. That's one that you don't normally hear.
Oh God, he's just such a badass.
What do you like about Mr. Windu?
I don't like. I can't say I don't know because I do know. It's like in the Clone Wars. I really love the Clone Wars and the way they depict him in the Clone Wars. It's like I guess they showed like an aspect to him that like you didn't really see. Oh, God, was he in all 3 of the prequels? I don't even remember now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You get to see more of him and his interaction with the clones. I think that's what I like most is like the way he interacted with the clones and like his respect towards them instead of treating them like they're expendable. I guess. Like I mean, a lot of Jedi did that, but Mace Windu was just I don't know really good about it.
Yeah.
That was Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
liked his lightsaber a lot.
Oh yeah, and his lightsaber. Of
Best
course.
lightsaber, obviously.
Yeah, and
Do you know why it's purple?
didn't he choose it?
He's
himself?
bisexual.
Both great answers.
All good theories. But I read that the reason why his lightsaber is purple because blue is a predominant Jedi lightsaber color.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why it's purple because the way he uses the Force, it's dangerously close to to the dark side, but he's able to still maintain his purity, his righteousness.
Yeah,
so blue and red make purple.
Well, mostly it was because Samuel L. Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber, but he was like, I just want my lightsaber to be purple. But then they kind of like, well, the reason why
That's the in-universe explanation.
Yeah, but you're right. He has I think it's his fighting style and his fighting stance in universe is dark side fighting stance.
Yeah, that's something else I should say too. Is like the way he fought. Like that's what I really like too.
With aggression.
Hell yeah.
He's a light side user, but he fights with aggression, and he's always struggled with that kind of struggle, and that's part of the reason why he is the way he is in Clone Wars is because you do see him be very strict with his rules of the Force and the rules of the Jedi Council whenever he's talking to Anakin and all that in the movies, but also in whenever he's talking to just normal citizens, he's very much like an in between, like a normal person trying to kind of be in the middle there. He's very much a gray, as close to a gray as you can get in the movies. Well,
Instead
was.
of being 50-50, he's more like a 55-45.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, but that's also another reason why Kylo is probably my second, because not because of the whole gray thing, but because he's very aggressive.
Yeah.
Like that's what I like about him. Like we talked about this before, but Kylo is very much like what Anakin, or the depiction of Anakin, should have been. Like just that aggression
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
absolutely.
his childlike personality.
His
like
tantrums, especially in 7.
yeah,
that he
yeah, that's why I really like. That's
destroys
why
shit.
Kylo is my second, just because of that. Well, not just because, but just because like that whole thing with him. He's what Anakin should have been.
Yeah.
Abby.
I guess I would have to say Yoda.
Oh,
That's fair.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
He, like, there wasn't much comedy in the first ones, as they tried to put in 7 and later, but I felt like he brought in sort of like the comedy in him, and I mean he just really like represented like the Jedi like really well. He was always the wise one, and
he was green.
yeah,
And a Muppet.
he was a little green dude.
he was not human. I'd say Ahsoka is my favorite. She very much kind of questioned. She was what Anakin also should have been.
Yeah, like
There's a lot of characters Anakin should have been written like, and was still just written like shit-ass Anakin.
She should have been pre-episode 3 Anakin. She was the one that he should have been. He should have been questioning, but still going with it, still trying to understand it. She, instead of just pretending like, oh, well, this is just how things are, she always fought against the grain, and that made her, she was complex in that because she saw the Jedi doing stuff that they shouldn't do, and of course in the end she was actually, she was the huge spoiler, she for Clone Wars,
she was charged with a crime that she didn't commit,
and then the Jedi were like, no, fuck you, you've committed this crime, and then they found out that she didn't actually commit it, and they were like, just kidding, come back, and she was like, fuck y'all, and
yeah,
and
she
literally
left,
walked away.
Yep.
She showed that in those circumstances that they may have been good and they may have been just in the way they ruled, but they weren't necessarily the right way to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I liked her a whole lot. And second be Yoda, because he is joyous, because the way Clone Wars depicts him, he you have someone like Mace Windu who's like, the rules. Yoda's also, yeah, we need to go by the rules, but he's like on the other side. He's on the good side of the other side of those rules. He's like, I know why these rules exist, while Mace Windu just kind of follows.
Yeah, like he like really understands them, and again, he's like the one of the oldest Jedi there.
He's like 900 years old when he dies.
Yeah, so
I think he dies at right at 900.
Yeah, so I mean that makes sense. And then one of the first episodes of the Clone Wars, that's with Yoda, and it's
great.
Yeah,
he's very good. He understands the Force like no other.
Yeah, and then I should also put this in there. There's a lot of corrupted Jedi in the Clone Wars, by the way. So, yeah. But what about you, Patrick?
I don't know. I was thinking. I think my favorite might be Poe.
Ooh.
Okay.
I really like Poe. He's like a super cool guy, and he's super nice. Like he met Finn, he became best friends right away, and he loved like BB-8, like his own child. Is like, he's the best pilot in the galaxy. He seems like a really like gregarious guy. He does have a hot streak, as you see, and you really see at other points. And I think as a bonus, I'll mention my favorite character as a child. I was watching Star Wars. My favorite character when I was a kid was Jabba.
Jabba was your favorite?
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I could probably go back and find all my old drawings, but I drew Jabba like crazy. Like
he owned slaves.
But to me, he was just he's a literal pile of shit who like had people killed, enslaved women. But like when I was 5 years old, I didn't notice that. I just like, wow, he's a giant slug monster. I really want to draw that.
That reminds me. When I was younger, my favorite character was not Jabba, Boba Fett, and I drew like the Mandalorians all the time. I remember kids would have me like, "Can you draw this? Like this? Can you draw them but with a different color scheme?"
Wow, what a silence!
I'm not talented at all. I didn't draw shit as a kid. I think on that note, with Pat's favorite character being Poe, I think we're going to move on to the Last Jedi talk.
So we are at 29:30. I'm going to say 29:30.
I mean, people listen. I was just going to give like a thing. Unless you
Spoilers,
would make it
spoilers,
into
spoilers,
a series.
spoilers,
There's
spoilers,
gonna be
spoilers.
Spoilers.
You
Get
have
thee the spoiler.
5 seconds to turn this off, or you're going to be spoiled in The Last Jedi.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Starting
Spoiler.
right now, we're
Spoiler.
talking about The Last Jedi.
Spoiler.
Okay.
Luke turns to Stardust.
Fucking explodes. No, actually.
Could you believe they just retconned every movie at the end of it? That
I
was
cannot
crazy.
believe they ripped off Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, I thought it was really weird that they had Ryan Reynolds there as
They-
Deadpool at the end.
They had
Like,
Iron Man, Captain America,
it was
Thanos.
fucking crazy.
It was
It
yeah.
was crazy. So if you didn't know, The Last Jedi was actually what is Infinity War. But no, so let's talk about The Last Jedi. First off, I won't. Before we get too deep into the plot, I want overall thoughts. Just describe the movie in one word, starting with Cole, or 2 words, or 3 words, or any words.
Middle. Can I explain why? Or,
I guess.
No, pass on with
No
it's
one-
one word.
And we can use a few words, right?
bitch.
He just said
I
that.
said multiple.
Oh,
Where have you been?
middle movie. It felt like a middle movie.
Oh wow, that's literally what
I
it
didn't even
is.
think that's where middle was going.
Anyway,
This fell apart so fast.
okay, I'm gonna say in a sentence. It had its highs and lows.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it was pretty insane. Pretty much, different parts of the movie got me going crazy.
It was polarizing.
I really liked it.
Great description.
thought it was the best movie of the franchise. I think it's better than
Oh,
Empire.
yeah.
What
really?
a hot fucking
I
take.
think it's better. Than
I can't believe somebody
That's
had a
good.
good opinion about this movie. You're not on the internet at all.
No, I literally walked out of the movie thinking, wow, people are going to love it. And
I
then
did too.
I got on the internet. I was like,
People fucking hate this movie.
What's
It's going to
this-
make $200 million this weekend, but people don't like it.
What was that thing you tweeted out about? Those people were like doing that, like
Oh
Make
my
it
God.
a petition to make some guy
Ryan
feel
Johnson.
bad.
Somebody started a change.org petition to get Ryan Johnson to admit that he should never touch Star Wars again. But also, no, I tweeted something yesterday. God, I've read so many stupid posts about people talking about 8. Like, somebody literally posted yesterday on Reset Era, or 2 days ago at this point, by the time you're listening. And they were like, this is what I would have done to make episode 8 different. They were like, first off, would have killed Rey. Like in the first, I'm like, are you fucking idiot? You cannot do that. Literally, no one would have done that. That would have never even been greenlit. Like, that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever read.
That's such a bad decision.
Yeah, let me tell you, you can make a lot of bad decisions for Star Wars. That would have literally been the worst. Killing Rey off would have been worse than anything done in the prequels combined.
Yeah, like it would have made sense to kill Finn off.
Yeah, sure.
Like that one scene where he was about to
I
ram.
literally
Yeah,
thought they were
I
about
was
to
ready
kill
for
Finn.
him
off.
to die.
I was like,
I
oh,
was
his
expecting
character.
it.
I was ready. I was like, okay, if he dies, that's it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna fucking cry.
But yeah, like that's such a stupid decision. And then you say, and then what else did they say? They said kill off Luke and Leia.
They wanted to kill off Luke and Leia.
Okay.
I'm like, there's no way all 3 of them were gonna die in the same
yeah,
movie.
like
Regardless.
that's crazy.
Oh
Like
god, it was so stupid. And they had a lot of things changed too. They were like, I would have cut out the whole Casino City planet thing. I'm like, that's a huge point of the movie. Like, you can't. What are you gonna do in its place?
I mean,
Like,
well,
obviously, you can retcon that by just making Rose a hacker. Yes, but you needed to fill time.
there's a weird. So a lot of the issues that people have with it comes from. So there's 3 major themes that I have found in the movie. It's neutrality, out with the old, and the last one being failure. And so that last one, failure, is what really fucked a lot of people over, and a lot of people up in their minds, is because there was like the Finn Rose storyline had no true conclusion.
yeah, I would have met like they got. I don't remember that.
Except for just like, there's joy in failure or some weird shit. Like, I don't know.
I don't remember the character's name, but they got Benicio del Toro, and they got his character, and it's like that wasn't what they're supposed to get, and it's like he ended up being a traitor, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get that, but it's like not really that big of a deal.
But it's also one of those things where it makes sense because I'm not trying to apply real world logic to Star Wars, but because that's just fucking dumb. But sometimes things aren't going to work out how they think they are.
Which that totally makes sense. And then like them getting on the ship, and then them getting betrayed, and then what's her face light speeding the shit out of the fleet.
That was the best scene of the whole
Okay,
goddamn
yeah.
That was the
movie,
best
he
scene.
Yeah.
slices those ships in half.
that shit was beautiful.
It was a wonderful scene, but there's one big problem. why the fuck haven't they been making lightspeed missiles?
That's
know.
true. That's
I guess because the arms dealers that they're buying from is not making them.
Well, that's the problem. Like, why haven't they?
Because they're already making enough money.
This light
I
speed,
guess.
these lightspeed missiles to destroy the other ships and things like that. The only thing that me personally that they've had lightspeed since episode 4. Why haven't they just been attaching a fucking lightspeed motor to a meteor and just launching the thing? Like, you know what I'm saying?
That wouldn't have been. I guess like
they could have launched
didn't
at
want
the Death
that in the
Star and
story.
stuff like
That's
that.
why.
Well, I mean, you could say that, but like in the canon itself, that they try to make so many things cohesive in the canon, and there's always a reason why. I guarantee you, we're gonna have a reason why. They're gonna say, well, to make lightspeed is incredibly expensive, or
well, I mean, if you notice, like the only people who have or are constantly having new technology or upgrading is the First Order, the Empire.
why
Yeah,
the fuck did they
no
not
money.
have it?
I was about to say the Resistance has no money whatsoever, except for the fact that they can buy weapons, but they don't have an R&D team. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, where's their lightspeed missiles?
But the first
I
orders?
I think you're too hung up on these lightspeed.
Yeah.
I think you're just hung
Like
up
what
on
if what if
something that
literally
doesn't
they
matter.
just never thought, oh, we can just go faster than the speed of light and blow shit up.
I mean, it's like, why did nobody before 1970 go like, internet?
Well, see, that's also another thing too. Remember whenever they were like, "Oh, that you can't track us through light speed or whatever." That whole debacle.
That was answered in Rogue One, though.
Yeah. Oh, of course that was answered. But I'm just saying, it's like I don't know. Maybe of course they're gonna say something to clear it up, but
I hope they do say something cleared up because that's what's necessary. They need to do something with that. But yeah, that's one of the major issues I have is just like you're telling me out of all these people in the galaxy, the First Order, the people who make the weapons and things like that, they didn't think, why don't we just attach a lightspeed motor to a ship
Maybe it's too big for a missile.
or a missile? Maybe so.
yeah. Actually, I was thinking like what they have like.
Why don't we have more kamikaze pilots with autopilot? I mean,
Fuck if I know.
You know
I
what I'm
don't
saying?
know.
Like,
I get what you're saying.
Don't they have
but-
like warp drive? Is that what it's called, a warp drive?
what might be even more interesting is seeing that in the next movie is like, hey, let's all get to shit. We didn't realize we could do that, so now we have autopilot set to kamikaze all the other ships whenever they fucking try to attack us. You know, like we may see that end up happening. I don't know. I can't necessarily speak for them, but at the same time, like you have literally.
I mean, if that was your one big hang up with the movie, I think it was still a pretty good movie though.
No, yeah, that's my
Yeah.
whole point. It's
Yeah.
my favorite. It's like one of my. It's in my top 3.
Yeah.
It's in my top 3 movies for the reasons it's a Jedi, which we haven't got to yet. God, we 37 minutes in this podcast. It's okay. John's gonna be late anyways. But no, that was one of the biggest hangups that I have with this movie. Also, can we all agree Leia should have fucking died?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, she should have
She's
died.
dead in real life.
That whole scene where she fucking just pulled the Force out of its ass and was like,
Okay, that was the one scene I probably had a problem with. Come like, this looks cheesy as fuck.
"Yeah, it does." And
And I get that Star Wars, build its whole brand on cheesiness, but
I mean, I knew like
in
that.
2017, I don't need
Now-
Carrie Fisher, Superman flying through space.
The very opposite of that. So the scene with the light speed, I thought it was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it was incredible.
But the details behind it and like why the fuck they haven't, that's what I have the problem with. Exact opposite with the Leia thing. The whole flying Mary Poppins thing, that scene, they should have done it way differently.
Yeah.
But her having the Force, totally understandable.
Oh, yeah,
no,
I get that part.
makes that makes
I just
sense.
thought it was stupid.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
looks stupid. And then like Kylo not killing her. I mean, I was like, I saw that coming. I knew that.
No, what she should have died. You know what? I think she honestly should have died in space. I think she should have died in that scene.
I don't know. I just think like she probably could have been a Jedi, just like her brother, but she never really used her powers like that. So it was kind of weird to see her all of a sudden like, oh dang, she knows how to use it, like,
Yeah.
because it's not like anyone just does.
Well, you also have to remember that between episodes 6 and 7, there's like 40 years, so we don't know if she had been like training.
Yeah,
for shit
And
or
Luke was
whatever.
a teacher.
Yeah, and I mean, probably Luke did because they're both Force sensitive, so it makes sense for her to know how to use it. It's just she should have died out there. Whenever those 2 TIE fighters came in and killed her for him, that should have been like, okay, she's dead, but he didn't do it.
Just think of that emotional impact on him of like he didn't even get the satisfaction of the dark side to actually kill his own mother.
Yeah.
And he was leading the attack on her.
General Akbar died in that one.
I know.
explosion.
Like, so many characters got killed, and we don't even know who they are other than Admiral Akbar. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Or
it.
Admiral, whatever. He was third best character in my opinion.
That makes
wow.
no fucking
That
sense.
makes no fucking sense.
Just know the only reason why I like.
He's great in the Lego games.
Well, I wouldn't.
That's exactly
I
why.
wouldn't
That's
say.
my only reason.
I wouldn't say he's my favorite character, but I would say I love his alien design. They're actually called the calamari. Fun fact. Mon calamari.
Cowabunga.
Yeah, Calabunga.
Yeah, Teenage-
And there were actually Jedi in the Clone Wars that were based off his race, and I thought they all looked badass. But anyway, yeah, crazy shit.
My problem is, and I could be totally wrong with this, I think the real life death of Carrie Fisher was like kind of messed them up, because I could have seen them killing Leia and before all of that happened. I could have seen them killing Leia in 8 and killing Luke in 9 actually. And then when she really died, and rumors came out that Disney was going to CGI her in the 9th movie, I was like, oh well, Luke's dying in the 8th movie then, and because I thought there was no way they would kill off both. Would it have been emotionally impactful? Absolutely, but I think it's okay to have her in. I don't think she'll last long in 9. She's definitely going to die in 9. We all agree
I think
that
she's
Leia's
gonna-
dying in 9.
I think
Yeah,
she's also
yeah.
going to pass into the Force.
I think she is too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think she's.
they're not going to blow her up.
No, she's not going to get in a battle or anything.
Yeah.
She's going to just like fade with the Force, and it may be at the end of the movie. I mean, too.
I
Like
kind of feel like with the way 8 ended, just considering the mass casualties and losses that the Resistance had, I feel like there's going to be a time jump for them to rebuild their forces and just. Leia she just passes away through age, and that's how they write her off.
And that's
you
how
think they kill her off screen?
Like not just like she gets killed out. She just passes away.
Oh,
Because so much time passed between 8
you may
and
be
9.
right on that one. That one's a very
Yeah,
sensible
because
reasoning.
I would agree with that, but
Not
the
very
movie's coming out in
satisfying.
2 years. So like, how much of a time jump can you do?
I mean, there's a time jump between Empire Strikes Back and Return to Jedi.
I mean, Leia's old as hell in these movies.
Yeah, and
these
I would
people aren't young.
That makes sense too, because I think like it'd be kind of interesting for like the First Order to be like, okay, we need to build our fleet, and then the Resistance to be like,
I don't think the First Order is going to be a thing anymore. I think the First Order is going to have
Oh, you
Kylo
think it's
Ren
gonna-
left over, but Kylo Ren is going to gather his Knights of Ren. He left with some students from the temple.
And there is a scene in The Force Awakens of one of Rey's visions. You see Kylo in his full mask and robes, and he has like 5 or 6 guys in armor behind him. And some people were saying that's not a scene from the past. That's actually a vision of the future.
Yeah, I mean,
oh
yeah.
shit, yeah, that'd be cool. See,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
I
too.
can't remember. I think it was Abby, me, and Cole. We talked about like we were thinking like maybe the Praetorian Guard that was defending Snoke, maybe they were the Knights of Ren. But now I'm thinking like no. What's gonna happen is we're gonna get to Episode 9 and Rey is gonna fight Kylo and the Knights of Ren. Holy shit, that'd be badass.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I think he's going to gather. I think that she's going to gather her own group of students and start teaching, and I think he's going to gather his own group of either students or people he knew that were in the Jedi Temple.
I mean, the
gather
First
them.
Order also experienced mass
I
casualties.
mean, well,
as well.
he did the thing that makes him a true Sith. Now he killed his master.
Yeah.
and so now he is a true. In terms of semantics, he's technically a true Sith now.
Yeah. Which second best scene, by the way, him killing Snoke and them fighting the Praetorian Guard.
Second
that's
best?
that's the best
Yeah, that's
lightsaber scene in the movies.
That is for me. Sorry, I should say it's my second best.
Oh shit! You're right. It is the second best. The Salt Sands battle was amazing between Luke and
yeah, that was great.
when he's just like fucking firing Luke and Luke just walks out and you're like whoop and you're all thinking Luke got OP real quick.
Yeah. I loved, and I get that it's goofy, but when Luke wiped off his shoulder, I flipped the fuck out. I was like, "Oh my god, shit! It's about to hit the fan!" I was pumped. I loved it.
That was the one part that took me out of it a little bit. I wish he had
That was
like
so
just
Mark
a
Hamill.
serious face and
Yeah,
like he
it's-
was ready. I didn't like the. That's right, bitch. I didn't like that.
But I go ahead.
Sorry, for some reason, like, you never see him really, like, that funny in the other ones, and, like, this one, it seemed like he tried a lot harder.
It was Mark Hamill
Yeah.
was just being himself.
Well, the thing is, if you've watched,
which a lot of people are like, but honestly, people are like,
yeah,
Luke's acting is Oscar worthy, and I don't believe that. I thought,
absolutely
no,
not.
definitely
I
not.
thought Mark Hamill's acting was just.
Okay.
It was very
Yeah.
1977.
it's very Star Wars, which is all I wanted. But and if you watch interviews and stuff, Mark Hamill was like, when he got the script for 7, he's like, "Oh, I'm never going to do this. They're not going to be able to get everybody back." And he saw Harrison Ford accepted his role in 7. He was like, "Oh fuck, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to be Luke. And so,
he actually follows the series. He loves
he's
Star
a huge,
Wars.
I mean, he's a huge, like, nerd in general. But, yeah, I mean, he loves Star Wars. Like, and he has such an appreciation for the source material that, I love. So I don't think he would have ever tried to do something goofy that would have retracted from the canon or whatever. I think it added a lot to the scene. And, again, I flipped my shit. But I do want to touch on one thing about the battle on the Salt Planet. So I saw theories online where people were like, man, them using the red soil underneath or whatever as just a substitute for blood explosions is so stupid. I'm like, do you not even understand why it's there? It's clear, like, because the surface of the planet is like this bluish tint color and underneath's red. It represents the whole theme of the movie of good, neutrality. The same planet has a blue surface but has red underneath representing
There's something dark beneath.
Yeah, and people were like, that's so stupid. They could have just used blood explosions. I'm like, the past two movies have been by far the goriest, I put that in air quotes, of the two.
I mean, again, with that one scene where they were fighting the Praetorian Guard, people were getting chopped up.
And getting chopped in half. Motherfucker got a lightsaber through the head.
And one guy was thrown into the grind. What was that?
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he exploded. That was like Quentin Tarantino shit.
I really like that scene. That was such a good scene. But anyway, yeah, it's like, what do you mean an excuse?
Like it honestly reads like, and I hate generalizing like this, but it honestly reads like people went to the movie and just was like, there's no way it's going to be as good as Empire, and they walked out and was like, yeah, that movie sucks shit. But if you went in with an open mind, that movie was at least a good movie. I thought it was a great movie.
It's just the problem that people had to, like, as good as the original movies are, you would be lying to say they don't have their flaws, but the trouble is a lot of these people, they're still stuck in this childhood.
Yeah.
They have just elevated and idealized the original movies to such a point that they're untouchable, and then they'll always be disappointed because reality can never match what people have put in their heads.
Yeah.
The one thing that I saw someone actually say, God, everyone's excited over what Pat just said. The one thing that I just I heard someone say is, like, go back and watch the original, back and watch the prequels, then come back and watch episode 8 and tell me if you're actually disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it's
go watch Phantom Menace, then come back and tell me.
Go watch Attack of the Clones and come back and
go
talk
watch
to
Attack
me.
of the Clones. Jesus, but like, and I don't get it too, because people are like, oh, it doesn't even feel like a Star Wars movie, which I agree to an extent. It's still a great movie, but it doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie for good reason.
Yeah, and that was the part of the second portion. The second like major theme was out with the old, out with the old, and not in with the new either. It was out with the old.
Yeah, just get rid of all this trash.
Yeah, let's get rid of the baggage. And even Yoda himself was like, "This is the end of the Jedi." So if we're gonna see Rey come back with a whole new whatever she's want to create, because she doesn't have any formal training. She has the old Jedi books, a few fancy words from Luke, and that's it. And so she just has to build an entire system based on that. And she hasn't had to face the great fear. Like Luke had to face his father. He had to face, in my honest opinion, the original trilogy did not do Vader any justice whatsoever.
Yep.
Compared to what the externals, the other stuff they've put out, like the comics and stuff like that, Vader is nothing in the original trilogy compared to what he truly is.
But I feel like that's just kind of like a product of its time,
right?
Too.
And Luke, and that is true. And Luke also had to face the Emperor. And then he saw all this evil, and he was like, oh God, I don't want to face that again. That's the reason why he tried to kill Kylo, or he thought about killing Kylo. But with Rey, she had to face Kylo, and she saw what Kylo did, but Kylo's still out there, and she doesn't have those same fears of that coming back, per se. And so it's going to be interesting to see how she develops, and I think they are going to. I don't know if they're going to be called the New Jedi or whatever they're going to call it, but
We're going to call him Ray-Dai.
God, no thanks.
I would die.
The name's to me. But it would be. I'm excited to see what they do. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's because I felt like after Force Awakens, the 8 was going to be a little bit predictable. I thought it was going to be a very dark movie, which it was, even though there was hints of, and a lot of people complain about the hints of comedy. I thought the comedy was placed in there very well.
Yeah, I thought it was good, except for, like, I mean, me and Abby talked about this too. It's like Mark Hamill was like kind of comedy. But then again, it's just Mark Hamill being
he's
Mark
just
Hamill.
goofy.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
he is very goofy. I love Mark Hamill, but anyway, yeah, I thought it was still very dark because a lot of people died.
Yeah, a lot like people like Holdo literally sacrificed herself to save the rest of the resistance, and like she kamikazed at light speed. Like that's not a ho ho ho.
She sliced the entire Sith fleet in half.
Yeah, like that's not banter. She's fucking dead.
Yeah, but like she crippled the fleet, and then something else too. Those early beginning scenes wherever they're taking the bombers up there, I felt stressed as fuck.
Oh,
Yes.
I was super stressed.
And
out.
then whenever that one TIE fighter they got shot down and it hit one bomber, and then that bomber hit the other bomber, and so on and so forth, it's like fuck.
And it makes sense. Like it's not like that's the movie, but like it makes sense
Because all their
explosions were, and they were so close together because they came out of the same fucking carrier.
Yeah, and all their explosives were all set or all armed.
We're all armed. Yeah, they were ready to go, and then one thing fucked up, and they lost every bomber except one.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people hated that scene because they were like, why don't they just make faster bombers, and why don't they make the bombers smaller? I'm like, why don't they make cars with 8 doors?
Yeah, I mean,
what
that's
a stupid fucking
like that is
thing.
never like in any sort of like history of military. It's like the bombers are always the biggest things ever,
Yeah.
and they're always slow.
And they're slow as shit. That's the thing.
Like that's just how it works.
That was the one of the major things about going back to the whole light speed missile thing. One of the major things that I have to say is like it's because most they don't often get that for one, yes, the warp drives are huge, and two, they don't ever go against massive ships enough. Big enough to actually be
to
warrant the price of the warp drive. Now, when they were facing off against
Snoke's capital ship.
Yeah, and was that the name of it? The capital ship?
What?
I wonder what Snoke's ship.
It was like his personal flagship.
Yeah, I
What's
wonder
his
what
name,
name it
though?
is.
looked
Yeah.
like a fucking manta ray.
But yeah, no, and they were fighting against that, and that was. I mean, it was a last ditch effort, and she kamikazed it, and it was beautiful, and it was definitely a poetic. Everything's poetry. The movies are poetry. It was a poetic callback to episode 7 whenever the First Order blew up everything.
Yeah, can we talk about Yoda appearing in this movie real quick?
Oh
yes.
That was my favorite reaction in theater. 'Cause I was sitting right by Colt when we watched it, and Colt literally grabs my arm and just goes, "Oh my god, that's Yoda!" And like everybody in there is like, like losing their fucking minds.
That was the best. I love that.
It was so
I love
good.
that part
It was so good.
much.
And I love that they used, and Cody's touched on this in conversations we had, that they used the puppet. There was a little CGI there, obviously, because he fucking glowed. But
The Force Ghost, but it's still Puppet Yoda.
yeah, but it was still puppet Yoda, and I really appreciated that. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I just love him.
Another thing that people were talking about was the ability to control nature as a Force ghost. Like, why haven't they come in? I mean, like, my personal opinion is that the Force Ghost characters, they are part of the Force now. The Force is they don't intervene necessarily with things. They kind of just nudge. I don't think they've ever had any. But they were talking about this is the first time the Force Ghosts have actually really nudged things. And
What I want to say, what I think is like total horseshit, is like all the people complaining about the abuse of force powers. I'm like, have not even seen anything in the old EU? Luke was like,
oh yeah,
there's like power levels that make DBZ blush. And honestly, like when you say, oh, it can't do this as the Force and blah blah blah, it's like that's like saying like them using Force lightning in Episode 6 is a complete disregard for anything that's set up in Episode 4.
I'm trying to think through it. Yeah, I mean, I saw nothing in this movie that was against the Force that had already been established.
I mean, technically, like using it is still abuse. Like me and Cody have talked about it at IHOP about like how they use the Force, and like technically, like the Force is neutral, so them like either side using it is abusing it or like misusing it.
Yeah, and that's where Rey's neutrality comes in. Is just like using it either way. It's real. I don't know. I saw nothing in this movie that was out of bounds for the Force, except for Leia. I mean, like maybe why would if they were to give Leia a reason to survive using the Force, then maybe. But like there was no reason for Leia to survive that. No reason why the Force should have come alive in her to help her out.
I agree, except I think something I think Leia's the only reason the Resistance didn't end, because I think if they would have went with Poe's original plan, they would have all fucking died, and that would have literally wiped out the Resistance. And truly, and I think it was only Leia that brought him down to Earth. And Leia
Maybe so.
shoots him with the the little taser gun, and like that's the only way. Because if they would have went with Poe's original plan, they would have fucking died, which I think was really important to Poe's character arc, where Poe was like, huh.
He failed.
Yeah, Poe was like, shit, that kind of sucks.
Learning from your mistakes. That's a big moral from this movie, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, there was one thing about the Force lightning that Snoke did, and we don't even know where fucking Snoke came from. They didn't explain that in the movies. It's just like, oh, now he's dead.
I always loved how there was these big theories like he's Palpatine, and then they fucking killed him an hour and a half.
Okay,
in the movie.
but one of the best parts of the movie, Rey is just a fucking junk rat.
Oh yeah.
They finally just like killed that whole thing of like, my parents are like really important. It's like, no, they're not. They traded you for alcohol. Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see if they actually say that. Oh no, Kylo was lying.
Yeah, they can totally retcon that and be like, "Oh yeah, Kylo was lying. Believe me, your dad was Darth Maul.
Kylo's a dick."
You're actually Obi-Wan plus Darth Vader. They have this technology which combines both of their DNA to.
You were
create a
born of the
baby.
Force of those two past souls.
Yeah, Obi-Wan treated Anakin like a brother, but really they were lovers.
Yeah, everybody thinks Padme's pregnant at the end of 3, but also Anakin was too. It got really fucking weird.
You know those aliens that play the clarinets in the original Cantina? You're that daughter.
Oh, and speaking of like silly stuff in Star Wars, people were so mad that Luke was like, "Why would Luke be the greatest Jedi ever?" And then he goes to this planet and fucking milk whatever those creatures are called. I'm like, oh my god, nobody even understood why he went into solitude because he was fucking mad. All Jedis are actually angsty teenagers. Fact.
Yes.
Tell me one that has never, besides Yoda.
I mean, it makes sense because his father did the same damn thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and another thing about part of the Jedi is that they're like the way they process emotions. It's like not healthy. So that's why
they're not even allowed to love, so they have to repress that.
We have no emotions ever. You can't feel sad or happy or mad.
They can't fuck. I mean,
they dig wet.
But just know Obi-Wan got some though. In the Clone Wars, there was a woman he had a love affair with, and it's like, hey.
Yeah, good job, Obi-Wan.
Back to that whole thing. Oh, and also Leia takes on a lot of Padme's characteristics too, which is really shown through Clone Wars. Anyways, including Jar Jar Binks, she keeps her in her pocket. I'm trying to think. There's an Easter egg with I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 100% positive. Maz. Whenever they're talking to her. By the way, that was another thing I had an issue with, which is, again, small issues. Mm-hmm. Very small issues I had. Where was her camera?
That was mine, too. I was like...
Does she have a drone following around? Which would be cool. It would be neat in the next movie for her to come up and be like, oh, yeah, I found this little thing. And then we're like, oh, that's
the BB-9.
Well, that's BB Flying 8.
Well, whenever they had their little hologram projectors or whatever that would project them, it's like, how'd that work? Because, like, you only see the upper half of their body, but it projected their full body. I mean, did it just scan their entire body and was able to project it on it? Like,
yeah, I mean, those little things are. I mean, but like I don't know.
Let's pick everything. Tiny little thing.
I've actually pulled up a second by second happening of the movie, and I'm just ready to pick through all 2 hours and 32 minutes.
No, there is a podcast that does that. It's called.
That sounds.
I think it's called Minute by Minute. Oh my god, I was like, this is gonna be fun, and I tried to listen to them do all the Star Wars series. I got into literally 10 minutes. They literally go minute by minute and talk about each minute.
I couldn't talk about minute by minute anything. Like 3-minute wrestling match. No, too much.
It takes them like 20 podcast episodes to get through.
Who cares? It's like an hour. Spending an hour talking about 1 minute. Like,
hey, if you need a podcast idea, you'll do anything. Ask us.
But I feel like anyway. But one big thing I wanted to bring up to part of the discussion. I don't know how long we'll run, but one thing I really wanted to touch on is the presence of women and people of color that had no place in the movies before now have a very prominent place, and that's something they wanted to touch on before we ended.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I think it's really good. It was kind of weird how they took the two minority characters and stuck them together and made their plot point null. That kind of bothered me kind of a little bit with Finn and Rose. But I don't know if that made the plot point null or made it something else. That's something that I have to rewatch it to actually get.
I thought Rose's character was great.
I
think the actress that played her, I don't know her name, but I think she did a fantastic job.
And the other thing was, of course, in the original trilogy, the one of the only black characters in the original trilogy ended up betraying the main.
But he gets a lot more shit than he deserved because he's literally had to balance betraying his friends or like an entire city that he looked after being destroyed.
That is true.
And you also have to remember New Hope came out in what, 77?
Yeah, and so that
very much product of its time.
But the fact that there was even a black character in the movie was
I mean,
pretty
the fact that Leia had a again, I mean, you can make the argument that they sexualized her, obviously, putting her in the gold bikini and stuff. Like, that was probably, seen as progressive in the late 70s and early 80s, but, now it's just kind of
Those girls got it bad. They got shirtless Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
There's a lot high-waisted shirtless Kylo Ren. Oh, yes.
I'm Sith because my pant waist is up to my neck.
Yeah, that thing that Vader had on, all of those were just pants.
Yeah. Sith wear no shirts. They're either fucking robes or just pants.
He had boots, sleeves, pants, and a helmet on. No shirts.
I hope if they ever remake the prequels at the end of 3, when fucking Anakin becomes Vader, it's just like super jacked Vader, no shirt, but pants up to his nipples, and still the mask.
But they do have representative of actual. You actually do get to see people of color in this movie, and it half the characters are people of color at this point. Like half
aliens.
The main. Okay, well, half the characters are actually half the main characters. You have Finn, you have Rose, you have Poe, you have. I think those are the main 3, aren't there? Is there any more?
Yeah,
Rey.
Well, she's a woman and she's the main character.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Why'd you say Poe? What is Poe?
Yeah, he's like is he Italian?
Yeah, he's supposed to be
And I think he's a Spanish or
Latino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not.
I didn't know that. I just didn't know that. Okay.
Wow.
Wow, Tanner, offensive.
Way to not see
I
race.
don't see race.
Good for you.
One thing that really tickled me was hearing Brianna talk about it after she got back because she was just like glowing how she literally had tears in her eyes talking about just like even incidental characters like backgrounds like the pilots or just people in the command just being women or women of color that's something that really
Female
touched her.
characters.
Yeah, I really like the female pilots, and it sucked whenever like most of them got killed.
How Rose's sister literally took down the dreadnought. Without her doing that, would have destroyed everything.
And then with those pilots that were about to take off, and one of them was she was like she was high rank, and then they got all blown up.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess that shows that even that's equality. That even the women, they're just as capable of dying as heroes, or playing their part, and they're not like, oh, they're a woman, so they're bulletproof.
Yeah, it's not like they're damsel in distress. They're like,
Excuse me,
badass.
There was one bulletproof woman in this, and it was Gwendolyn Christie as Chrome Dome.
Oh, Captain.
I swear to God, she's not dead.
No, she's not.
No,
There's
she's not.
There's a reason why they showed the blaster reflection.
Oh yeah,
off
and a
of her.
woman being a villain too, and who was like pretty strong by herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also not a villain in the traditional Hollywood trope of, oh, she's a bitch. It's
No,
she'll kick your fucking ass.
Yeah,
She's awesome.
She will kill you.
I don't know. I have to. People are not happy with Holdo because, of course, she was in the Leia comics. I haven't read the Leia comics. People are saying that the character, it's still a strong woman character, right? Holdo is, but putting the person they put as the actress for her against the Leia comics one. They're very different characters, and that the characterization was wrong. Outside of that, I did like Holdo because she was. Although, why didn't she just tell Poe whenever Poe was losing his shit?
Yeah.
Poe. She knew that Poe was a commander, that he did care, and that he gave a shit. Why didn't she?
Well, I think the reason for that was that Poe, he needed to, even though he is high ranked, he needed to learn that. It's just because he's high, he can't call the shots. He still has to learn to listen. He still has to, learn to take order.
But I mean, if he would have just, if she would have just said something, I feel like, I mean, this is again, I agree with you, but also the same sense, like there was a sort of, I don't know, sort of like, I have a.
She was like a need to know basis. That whole stupid thing.
It was just like some weird authority type of thing that whenever you're in a life and death situation, that weird authority thing can kind of get in the way, especially if you're like, hey, this is what we're actually doing, and so yeah, if we actually
Don't do anything fucking stupid that might get anybody killed.
Yeah.
But I do like as much as I love Poe, he was definitely in the wrong in the beginning of the movie. Like yeah, he blew up his plan. Had the Dead Knot run it, but like he killed like 75% of their forces, and it's like you're betraying us. His reaction was causing could have caused a big panic. While she's trying, we just need to focus on get everybody back into place, and so we can just go ahead and move forward with a plan. He's like, no, we're all gonna die if we don't do this right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I have to see her. I have to compare her to the actual Leia comics, which I haven't read.
Yeah, I would have to look into that. I didn't know about that. So.
Yeah, so that's the reason why they were kind of playing her up. Yeah, this is her, and I'm sitting there thinking like, who the fuck is she?
Yeah, I'm like, who is this
Who
purple-haired
is she?
lady? And that's another thing where
Holdo.
reading the comics would have enhanced your viewing.
Yeah,
You're like, oh shit, that's fucking Holdo.
But they put a lot of emphasis on her instead of just bringing her in as like they were acting like, oh yeah, there's a lot of emotional impact here, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
Especially with I thought the emotional impact of her like shooting through the thing was
yeah,
amazing.
I thought that was still great, and for a character I knew for an hour
I think it would have been cooler if
good.
I do agree that if Akbar or Leia did that, it would have been pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, either way.
But also, there's a lot of dudes talking about women in place of a story. What does our resident Abby think about all these cool women in the movie?
Oh, when I first saw Rey, I immediately loved her. Like them bringing her in, she had such a cool aspect to her, and she brings a lot to the world, kind of making it different from the older ones. But I really like all the female characters in it.
One thing that I'm really glad they haven't done with her, what they do a lot with the female characters in any major role, is let's try to feminize you. Let's make you more feminine. They haven't done that with Rey. They've literally just pumped up her masculinity throughout the entire. And that,
Yeah, I love that.
I hate those scenes where they're like, "Let's make you more feminine, Rey," and then they'll pretty her up and say "pretty her up" in quotations. It's like makeup, hairdo, and stuff like that. And then later on, she's like, "I'm more than that." And then she's puts her hair back in a ponytail, but she suddenly has been more. They've. I don't like it that they highlight the fact that she's not feminine. I like the fact that they've just gone forward with her just femininity or her masculinity. Not to say masculine, just made her strong female character.
Just a strong female character that is not too feminine, but not too I guess masculine, like a tomboy or something. I don't know.
They just made her a human being. They just
they just made her a human being. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like how tough she is, and they didn't try to do that.
I'm sorry.
Pull out her feminine side too much. She's a really strong character.
Whenever the episode 7, whenever Finn keeps grabbing her hand, she kept asking, "Why are you grabbing my hand?" I don't she can take care of herself.
Yeah.
I'm just really scared they may start a Poe-Rey love interest in episode 9, and that kind of scares me because I feel like Rey is such a strong character. She does, and Poe too.
Poe is a strong. See, that's why I think
they don't need each other really.
It's weird how they made they've already made a Finn, Rose, Rey love triangle.
Yeah, and I feel like that might be a thing.
But see,
in
I think
episode 9, and I'm just
I feel like
don't.
I feel like Finn will I hope he sticks with Rose because Finn and Rey will just never work.
They need to be brother sister relationship.
Yeah.
That would work. Really
Men and women can be friends. It's possible.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
And
it's crazy.
But you know how did gosh, I don't know this for sure, but did Han and Leia divorce or anything?
Were they ever married?
I don't think they were married. I think they just
they got married. Did they they got married at the end of?
Oh, they did get married. Yeah, they did get married. And did they just separate or something?
Yeah, they separated after they separate. Yeah, they got.
Well, yeah, they definitely separated.
They I don't know if they divorced, but they definitely separated after Kylo went AWOL.
Yeah,
because Leia always. That's the reason why they were separated in the 7th movie, because Leia always was like, "I have hope in my son," and then Han was like, I can't trust him. He's gone. And this is why I should never let you give my son to to Luke to train and all this other shit.
And you see it in episode 7. They still obviously love each other, but
it's a painful divide.
Yeah.
And
it's
they
a thing this had to happen, but it sucks.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm thinking about with Poe and Rey. It's they probably will get together. If they do get together, they will get together. But it's kind of
not. If they ever do,
I'd rather Poe I'd rather Rey just kind of be.
And I'd rather Poe marry BB-8.
Yeah. I love how Poe loves BB-8.
And also how BB-8's
Where's my droid?
fucking badass.
Yeah.
I love
But
it.
yeah, I mean, I was just thinking like, because Poe's very different and Rey's very different. So if they do get together, I feel like they'll probably be together for a little bit, but then they'll probably just separate because just like completely two different people.
And it'll probably happen off screen.
Yeah, but then again, I just think probably might not happen. Rey will go to start her, whatever order, and then Poe will be Poe.
I agree. Can we talk about the last scene before we wrap this up? The kid using the Force to get the broom. Fucking shit, that was awesome.
I yelled, I think.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that little kid at the very end.
He used the Force to grab the broom.
Yeah.
Abby.
He was walking out
Ab-
of
you
the
could-
building that he was kept in, and he had his arm out, and the broom
And the
sort of
broom-
came.
Everybody gasped in the theater. Abby yelled pretty much.
I didn't even notice that.
It was proof that the Force is still propagating in those around the universe, and that the Force is still strong in the universe. And he looked down with his little rebel ring, and he was looking up. I don't know if you noticed, was at the binary star that Luke was at, and he was the island was at, and he felt Luke would die within the Force, and he looked down his rebel, which proved that there are still children out there that are wanting to fight for the side of the good.
Yeah,
and that's
They have allies.
yeah.
Yeah, I got really sad after Anakin killed all those, the baby Jedi in training.
Oh yeah, in 3.
And so I was so happy. I was like, more kids.
Abby was like, I was sad when
One got
Luke
away.
killed children when fucking children died.
Children.
And then Padme's like, he killed a bunch of kids. I better put a ring on that.
Anyways, is there any other little things you want to talk about when it comes to?
I mean, great movie. I mean, is what I have to say. Like, I want to see it again. I want to see it with maybe not a critical eye, but like what did these people not like about it? Because I really want to see their point of view. I just think it's ridiculous.
I want to go into the movie with a list of criticisms in my head, and I want to evaluate the criticisms.
Sure.
I don't want to because from hiccup. And I want to, and I still want to be able to. I almost threw up on this table. I want to go in with the same criticisms as a lot of people have, and I want to, or with a list of criticism, look at their criticism, see if they are as valid as they might seem, and come away from the movie. I don't want to, because I don't know. I went into this movie wanting to be good. I came out with it believing it was good, and believing that everybody else thought it was good. But then I went onto the fucking Star Wars subreddit, and it was like a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Pro tip: don't go to Reddit.
Yeah, just stay away from Reddit.
No.
as much
If
as
you
possible.
enjoy anything, don't read about it on Reddit.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody take your joy.
Yeah, Reddit will take that joy and like fuck it.
Yeah, pretty much. I am curious to see how much it made this weekend. I saw like Box Office Mojo was predicting a $200 million plus weekend, which is fucking huge. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see.
It's gonna
that.
be it's a big ass movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right.
Is that so? Podcast over. Thank you everybody for listening to the All You Can Hear podcast. If you enjoyed,
Just a little tidbit on how long we actually went on episode 8. Y'all ready to hear how long we went?
33.
We went. Do you think we went 33 minutes?
Yeah.
We went 42 minutes
Oh god.
wow.
on episode 8
It's
alone.
like an hour and
Wow.
a half.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to this long podcast. If you enjoyed it, give us a rating on iTunes. That helps us more than you. That's literally the best way you can help us right now is leaving us a review rating on iTunes. Helps us get up higher in the algorithm. All that cool jazz. You can also listen to us on Google Play. Overcast.fm, SoundCloud, all those great services as well. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at AYCH Podcast. We're on twitch.tv/allyoucanhear. I think me and Colt have something in the works for that. That should be pretty cool. I think Winslow has some ideas. We're going to start, especially in the new year. Right now everybody's busy with the holidays and stuff, and
Coming 2018, AYCH loot box.
yeah, AYCH
Hell
Loot Box.
yes.
Don't promise that I have no money. You can follow us on Instagram, AYCH Podcast, and you can follow me, Tanner, on Twitter at Tanner1495.
I'm Colt, and you can just find me on Twitter at ColtD88. I will request this from now on until the end of time. Send me pictures of your dogs.
You can find me on Twitter at Winsy Wilkie.
You can find me on Twitter at Tegan Abigail.
You can find me on both Instagram and Twitter, and if you want to, Snapchat at CODDOC11. That's 11.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at John Lost His Name. You can follow my art on Facebook at John Lost His Name Art. You can also follow me on Venmo. By the same address.
I love it.
Okay, can we get a PayPal now?
Patreon learned from the mistakes, so it's good again. So
Yeah, Patreon's good again. Thank God. Good Lord, that was a whole fiasco. We'll talk about that some other time. But thank you, everybody, for listening to the All You Can Hear podcast.
Bye.
Hey,
And
bye.
may
the force be in you.
Every week,
May
I
the
try
force-
to wrap it up.
May
in
the
a
force
nice
be
bow.
in you. May the force
It's
be in you.
Such shit.